I think they're dead wrong, Tyler. It's good to be on, by the way. And it's the reason why we filed suit this morning in the Southern District of New York, along with New York and Connecticut. And it's not the first action we've taken to push back on this egregious tax law, both its constitutionality and now the IRS interpretation. There are 33 other states with about 100 different examples across those states, many of them red states, by the way, where the IRS has allowed these sorts of charitable contributions to go ahead. So I would argue that the radical actors here, the folks who have rewritten history, is the IRS. We want to put it back to where it should be on behalf of our taxpayers.
So if there are other states where these kinds of arrangements have been upheld, how will the courts not go along with that?
It's a good question. We believe that federal courts back as far back as the 80s have been crystal clear about defending the very action that we believe we can take through these charitable contributions. We think they would have to open up all of that precedent, and we don't believe that that is, at the end of the day, the right side of history. We believe we're right, and it's crystal clear that we're right, which is why we're taking the action that we took today.
My biggest concern, as I've said on our air many a time, is that when I pay money to the to the good state of New Jersey, that is money that is already it's taken out of my paycheck. It is already spoken for. I do not have the constructive use of that. It is taxed income. And then if I lose the ability to deduct that, I am then taxed twice. To me, it is a perfect example of double taxation.
There's no question about it. And so that's why today's action is another action we're taking, but it's one of many, one of which we challenged almost instantly coming into office through the great work of our Attorney General Kabir Grewal, along with New York, Connecticut, and in that case, Maryland. We challenged the constitutionality of the restriction on deduction for that very same reason. We believe it is unconstitutional. So we're not only challenging the constitutionality of it, we are challenging the IRS's interpretation. We're working with our federal delegation, including with New York, to try to get the law changed. And we're taking a whole series of steps here, and who knows what our likely outcomes will be, but we're not going to stop fighting on behalf of our property taxpayers.
So, Governor, this is obviously a very important issue to the tri-state area, and I'm wondering if there is one or two data points that you can point to say this has been the impact on the state of New Jersey, whether it be migrations out of the state or maybe a decline in property values.
We haven't seen any real evidence, Melissa, of either of those yet, but we know the math. The math is about $18,000 on average of state and local deductions that are taken annually with a $10,000 cap. That's $8,000 on average of folks who are out of the money. And this tax law, this vaunted Trump tax law that was supposed to be a boon for the middle class, I think I've met literally one person, and I've asked almost everybody I meet, how did that filing go for you? Was your refund larger? Did you get something back as opposed to what you might have paid in years past? Everybody literally is out money, and this is another example of that. And again, we haven't seen the evidence of folks leaving the state because they come to a state like New Jersey for the best public education in America, our location, transportation, health care, quality of life. There are lots of reasons why folks are here, but this is pain. This is pain for the middle class in our state.
Speaking of pain, I want to ask you, Governor, about the status of the millionaire's tax, which would possibly or could possibly impose a top rate of 10.75% on people with income over $1 million. You signed the budget without it about a month ago. Does that mean that this is dead, or is this something that you take up? Because some people will say, you know what, you're trying to save us on losing SALT, and yet you're trying to tax the rich here with this millionaire's tax.
Listen, the millionaire's tax is far from dead in New Jersey. I still believe with all my heart it's the right step to take, and we're going to continue to pursue it. I inherited a state about 18 months ago, which we're in the middle class had been ravaged for 8 long years. It was disinvestment, it was underinvestment, it was ignoring the middle class entirely. So this is all about tax fairness. It's not an us versus them. We welcome the millionaires here. We want more of them. but we want them to pay a little bit more to help us reinvest in the middle class, in education, transportation, and all the stuff that makes the middle class in our state as strong as it is. So I think it's a question of fairness. It's, I believe, still the right thing to do, and I'm going to stay at it.
Why are taxes so high in New Jersey, Governor? I believe the state income tax rate at the top is the highest or second highest in the country, and property tax rates in my town are among, if not the highest in the country. Why are they so high?
Tyler, in the People's Republic of Montclair, one of our great communities, historically, listen, again, we inherited, I got elected to fix the economy. Let me start with that. And that means to get it growing again and make it fair again. And we inherited an enormous property tax burden. And so whether it's challenging the federal government, whether it's aggressively pursuing shared services, whether it's growing the economy, again, any number of actions, every day we wake up trying to crack the back of the property tax crisis. Yeah. Last year, I should say, was on average the lowest increase in our state's history, but it was still an increase. So we're going to stay at this. We have great education, great transportation, health care, quality of life. We're a good value for money state, yeah, but folks want to pay a fair premium, and it had gotten out of control.
Hey, Montclair is the best place I've ever lived, Governor. I love it to death. It is a marvelous community. But let me make this observation. I grew up in Northern Virginia, where the counties were the main taxing authority, and they are very large.
Yep.
And there is one superintendent of schools for all of Fairfax County, Virginia. There is one chief of police. There is one fire chief. In New Jersey, we are organized by county, but we are largely organized by very small townships. So every little township, Montclair and Glen Ridge and Verona and Cedar Grove and North Caldwell, they all have their recreation director, their police chief, and so the economic model, you know, as a businessman, you're not getting any efficiencies of scale that way.
Yeah. So, Tyler, this is a big point. If you were to roll back the history, you'd look immediately to home rule. New Jersey, to your very good examples, and those are all great communities, is the ultimate American home rule state. We have 565 townships, over 600 school districts. That's hard to do, by the way. So we have more school districts than we have communities. And it's both a source of our enormous pride and excellence on the one hand, and the source of the biggest reason why we've got a property tax crisis. You've already articulated the atomization of all the services by community, and that's a huge contributor to the structural realities of the property tax challenges. On the other hand, and you know this in Montclair and some of the other communities you mentioned, the pride of having in New Jersey 300 or 400 of the best school districts, public school districts, literally in the United States. We are rebuilding at long last NJ Transit, which used to be and will be again the premier commuter organization in America. Save the Children ranks New Jersey #1 in the country to raise a kid. We're rated as the safest and best hospital systems in America. I could go on. So there's that, it is both the source of our greatest pride and excellence on the one hand, and of our biggest headache on the other.